this amount of money for tickets. And I was able to get a good round-trip rate and got on the plane Thursday at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening in Santa Fe. I found out that it's easier. So we have some pictures, and we can go through the pictures here with you if everything's going to work out properly. Okay, I gave pictures to Christopher Michael, and he said, I'm going to put them together into something or another. So let's see what we have. Okay, it's my mic. This is where that is coming from. That's my nephew that lives in Washington, D.C. That's the price of gas in downtown Washington, D.C. A picture from the White House, Heritage Foundation. We were at the Heritage Foundation. That's us walking into the Heritage Foundation. Oh, we knew this was going to give us a little bit of trouble. Excuse me? That hand is one of the staff members for FEMA. I didn't take the names down of these people, so I can't really tell you. It's a very important pen. Yeah, he's giving us a veiled message there, the message of the cross saying, pray for America, I think is what that's all about. Anyway, this on. So we got on the plane. I got on the plane, by myself, got on the plane Thursday evening, about 6 o'clock in the evening, 7 o'clock, and flew out of Santa Fe. Okay, now, originally when I was going to fly, there was 2 flights that would have got me there on Friday. One of them would have got me there at 1 o'clock in the morning if I would have gone through Dallas. The second one out of Santa Fe, and it's so much easier to go through Santa Fe than it is to Albuquerque, because American Airlines will take you to either Dallas, Phoenix, or to Denver. So you drive it an hour, not all the parking, not all the hassle that you have. They're outgrowing the airports in Santa Fe. They need a new one, but right now it's working good. Anyway, what happened was that we left 7 o'clock around there Thursday evening, went to okay, so this is the story. I tell my nephew, I said, hey, do you got a place for me? Can you help me out? He said, yeah, uncle, come on over. He says, you stay at my house, I'll pick you up, no problem. He says, okay, it's going to be at the Baltimore Washington Airport, 45 minutes away. He says, no problem, just get here. So I said, okay, do you want me to get in at 1 o'clock in the morning? You want me to get in 5 o'clock in the morning? He says, 5 o'clock in the morning. So I said, okay, no problem. I mean, it's a freebie. Do you know what hotels cost in Washington, D.C.? You saw what the gas cost, okay? Imagine what hotel rooms, you don't find hotel rooms for less than $300 a night in Washington, D.C. So what I did is I gave him the choice. What time do you want to pick me up? He says, I'll pick you up at 5 o'clock. So that meant I flew to Phoenix instead of Dallas, and from Phoenix over to Washington, D.C. So I get to the airport in Santa Fe, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of confusion, and people are running around saying, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? The flight to Dallas had been canceled because of weather. And that's the flight that I would have been on my way to Washington, D.C. So you say, well, why do you want to go to Phoenix first and then to Washington, D.C.? Well, a couple of reasons. One of them is the Lord knew that the Dallas flight was going to get canceled. Number 2, I can sleep all night on the plane. So I got on the plane. We flew over to Phoenix, made my connection, and got on the plane, and it was a 5-hour trip, and I slept for probably 4 of those 5 hours. By the time I woke up, I have no idea where we were, and shook the cobwebs off a little bit, and half an hour, 45 minutes later, the plane's descending. You know, you feel it when it's starting to slow down and descend. We get to Washington, D.C. My nephew's texting me and saying, where are you? I said, I'm going to be in front of the airline, the American, because I flew American. He says, I'll be, so anyway, he got there, picked me up, took me to his house, and from his house, to his house, and I took a nap for about an hour and a half. Okay, for some of you, that's not a nap. For me, that's a nap. Woke up refreshed, got ready. He took me to the corner of 19th and State Way, right there at the White House where we were checking in. And there was about, I'm going to guess about 75 people most of them were Texas pastors, okay? The New Mexico group was 6. Some of you know and have looked at his website, his Facebook page. You're with Pastor Caleb Cooper. How many of you know Pastor Caleb Cooper? Pastor Caleb Cooper and his wife were there. A lady named Elisa Martinez, who is running or wants to run for U.S. Congress. She's a pro-life, runs a pro-life ministry right now. Well, then there are just 5 of us. Anyway, a worship leader from Albuquerque, and I were there. So there was the Coopers, those 2 girls. So there was 5 of us from New Mexico. They had invited about 8 or 10 pastors from New Mexico, and really Caleb and I were the only pastors that made it, and representing New Mexico. So you go into, you go to the corner there, and there's 2 different checkpoints. You got to have your license. They have to have you on the list. They ask you questions when you get there, and then they process you, and then you go through the whole thing a second time again before you can actually go in. Secret Service everywhere. This place is just swarming with these Army-type personnel called the Secret Service. From there, we went into a hall that they held us there for about a half an hour or so before we went into a special room, and they had 4 different speakers that were there for us. Okay, people that are on staff with the administration, that are Christians and Hispanics, and interested in the things that we're interested in, and wanted to know what we thought, what was going on. They gave us time for questions and answers, and we stayed there for at least, from the time that we were checked in till the time we got out, was at least 4 hours in the White House, okay, on the wing. I thought we were going to see the president, but some guy, instead of seeing Big Daddy, President Trump was interested in Big Wadidi, or whatever his name is that they killed. What was the name of the, Al Baghdadi. Okay, I thought it was Big Daddy, but it was anyway. So we didn't see, we saw Vice President Pence from about 20 or 25 yards away, got out of one of those limos and went up into the place where he had just come out of. Huge place, and very, very elegant, very nice. From there, we went to the Heritage Foundation. If you've never been to the Heritage Foundation, it's a conservative think tank, and they had speakers there. From there, we went to the Hyatt Regency, Capitol Hill. We had other speakers. In fact, if you noticed the banner that was on the fence that we put up just this morning, talking about persecuted Christians. One of the presenters that we had to us is a man who is very involved. And the statistic that held out to my mind, amongst many things that we had heard, was that for every man, woman, and child that live in the United States, there's a Christian outside of the United States that's being persecuted. So the number is about 3.5 million people in the world, Christians, are being severely persecuted, and about the population of the United States. So he talked about that. He talked about how we can help. There's a website, and there was only 5 banners, and I made sure that I got one, and we hung it up this morning, and it's out there talking about persecuted Christians. After that, I was spent. I didn't have much left by about 9 o'clock at night. My nephew picked me up, took me home, watched a little bit of the game. I tried getting together a fundraiser for my sons and my daughter and for a special event that was going on in Washington that night. Guess what the special event was? Excuse me? The World Series game. Tickets were only $900. I watched it on TV. Just kidding. My kids didn't know what the heck I was talking about most of the time when I was trying to vaguely tell them that I had this very important fundraiser. But got back on the plane before noon in Washington, D.C., or in Baltimore, actually, is where it's at. Flew off to Dallas. The weather was good there. Flew to Santa Fe. Got back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And Mark Gonzalez with Hispanic Action Network says that there's going to be more visits for us. That he wants us back there more, and he's going to try to plan more events. And the next events that he planned for us are going to be a little bit more planning that goes along with it. He's got people that he wants us to hear what they have to say. He wants some of those to come out to where we're at. There's going to be a lot of... Now, before I left, I did tell a lot of people that I was going, okay? And good thing, because I would have told them we're going to go see President Trump, and I didn't see him, okay? They said, yeah. I was at Ralph's, Cocina Rafael. Ralph is a good friend of mine. I was in the office. We were talking, and he says, well, what are you up to? I said, I'm going to Washington, D.C. this afternoon. He says, no way. He said, yeah, I got tickets. I showed him the tickets. He said, really? He says, where are you going to go? I said, we're going to go to a briefing in the White House. And just about that time, one of his friends walked in to invite him for coffee. I didn't know the guy. And he says, hey, guess where this guy's going? This guy's going to the White House. This guy's going, he's headed to Washington, D.C. this evening. He's going to the White House. And the guy said, well, I don't know. And you know exactly what they're saying. You know what I mean? Who wants to go see the president? Who wants to go see President Trump? I say, listen, if Obama, if Clinton, if Bush 1, Bush 2, if Jimmy Carter, if any one of them would invite me to the White House, I'd be there. Because you know what? We have something to say, and we're not into political parties. We're into the values of the kingdom of God and the values of the Constitution. And that's what we're talking about. Those are the issues that we want to talk about when we're in those areas. I got an opportunity to ask some questions. I got an opportunity to meet some people. But more than anything, I had my big ears on, as my boss used to tell me all the time. He says, Mark, put your big ears on and listen up. And I wanted to hear what people have to say. And that was how I spent my weekend. So it was quite the weekend. Never, ever expected. I'm sitting down in that room, and did the pictures come back, or did we lose the pictures completely? I don't know if we can run that. He's not sure? It's cut. No pictures. Okay. We'll try to put it on the LV Cornerstone Facebook page and on my Facebook page if we can, just so you can see. It's only about 8 or 10 pictures and just a little bit of what I've explained to you already. If any questions, don't feel free to ask. Expecting other trips, I guess. But I'm sitting there in that big room with about 75 or so of those pastors and these people talking to us from FEMA and from the Religious Initiative for the administration. And I'm sitting there saying, what the heck am I doing in the White House, man? Only God could allow us to open those doors and to be there. And when I go, I represent you people, Cornerstone Church, Las Vegas, the faith family of Las Vegas and surrounding areas. And I'll let you know more about this theme as it goes on. I would encourage you to look at the Heritage Foundation website. There's a lot of stuff there if you want to find out things, and then the website for the persecuted Christians. So that's how I spent my weekend. Okay, now I'm kind of getting, I'm going to change gears here a little bit, but there's a couple of things that I want to address before I really get into the teaching. Two things that are really starting to come up, okay? There's things that are starting to come up on your feed. Your feed, what I mean by your feed is if you're on the internet, if you're on social media, you're looking at your emails, or you're just talking to people and hearing, there's a lot of things that are going to start coming up, okay? Because I've been getting them really hot and heavy for the last 2 weeks. One of them is this rap singer Kanye? How do you say his name? Kanye West. How many people have heard about Kanye West? Okay. You haven't. You'll hear about him if you haven't yet, okay? Unless you're just living in your cave someplace and you're not connected to what much is going on. But if you're on Facebook, you're going to start hearing about Kanye West. Kanye West is a rap artist, from what I understand. Extremely famous black man. He had an album at one time that said, "I am God." And this whole album was about, he's proclaiming that he is God. Well, he had a conversion experience within the last few months. And he has a pastor in California. He came out with a new recording called Jesus is King that just came out Friday. And people all over the world are freaking out. They're just freaking out. So you're going to hear about them. Listen, and the reason that I'm telling you about this is because as I was in airports yesterday, I was talking to my family, talking to my wife, talking to my children. Both of my boys asked me, "Dad, what do you think about this Kanye West thing?" I didn't bring up the subject. They brought up the subject. So the younger generation is hearing about it, especially even the next generation after that. The youth group generation is hearing about this stuff. That age group is hearing about it because this guy was super famous, okay? This guy was like, I guess probably we could equate him with like maybe Bob Dylan of our times or something like that. Very, very famous man. They're asking me questions. What do you think about him? I've been watching this stuff going on, but I asked them, what do you guys think about it? What do you think about it? Because they're much more connected to Kanye West than I am, and the Kardashians and all that stuff. So they think it's the real deal, and I value their opinion. But here's what you need to understand as you get there. He's just a man. He's just a man. Don't get all wiggy on us and, say, he's the devil. Oh, he's the Messiah. No, he's just a man. He's going to make mistakes like all of us make mistakes. If he's truly born again, which he seems like he is truly born again, he's a young Christian right now. He's a baby Christian, really is what he's doing. It's really tough for a baby Christian to get thrown into that type of an environment right away, national, international environment. So check it out, discern, and see what the Lord tells you concerning that. Jesse, you had a... Uh-huh. Well, yeah, there's a lot of money in it. But let me tell you about rap music before we go, because his pastor, he had gone to his pastor and he had told his pastor, I was reading an article yesterday written by his pastor. He told his pastor, I'm not going to do rap music anymore. It's the devil's music. And the pastor told him, listen, it's just a genre of music. It's not the devil's music. It's all depends on what spirit you are under, whether it's the devil's music or not. I have an article from one of the initiators of rap music, and I believe the guy was from Detroit, and I think I still have this article. Rap music was originally made by some Christian men to reach out to the urban generation. And then somebody, as always, here's another thing you need to understand. Much stuff has been hijacked. We are trying to be hijacked in so many areas of our life today. But I have an article that goes way back to probably the 70s, Jesse. How long has rap music been around? Anybody have an idea? We missed it. I mean, I don't listen to rap music. Unless it's on KLYN, I don't listen to rap music. I missed that thing completely. Yes, Jesse. I'll try to get the article. I'll try to see if I can dig it up. I had it saved on my emails, okay? So I'll try to see if I have it. But that's something else that's going on. Here's another thing that's going on, and I want to bring this up. You're going to start hearing a lot about where do women stand when it comes down to ministry. There's going to be a lot of talk here real soon concerning the ladies. Where do women stand when it comes down to ministry? And if you know Pastor John MacArthur, in fact, the ladies did one of the studies that they did recently. How many of you have ever heard of Pastor John MacArthur? Anybody? Show of hands. You guys, what do you guys do, man? Come on. But John MacArthur was asked a question about a woman minister. He went off and said something, and now everybody's fighting left and right about, did he write? Listen. There's a lot of things. Let me give you my guess. Here's what I do know for sure from the scriptures, okay? What I know from the scriptures is that there are women prophets in the Bible, both Old Testament and New Testament, without a doubt. We are not going to hold back the ladies in our church. And here's something that you need to know, is that prophetesses have been in God's kingdom since the beginning. Miriam, the sister of Moses, was a prophetess. Deborah was a prophetess. You go to the New Testament and the Gospels and you'll see Anna. Anna was a prophetess. You'll go to the book of Acts and you'll see this one man whose daughters were prophetesses. But we have to understand, what is prophecy? Prophecy is just delivering the word of God. Prophecy isn't always. A lot of times when we hear prophecy, what's the first thing that we think of? We think of foretelling the future. Oh, if he's a prophet, he's going to have to tell us the future. In fact, some people will come to churches and they'll tell you your future, or they'll tell you something about you. Most of all, many times it's just word of wisdom and word of knowledge. It's not even prophecy. But prophecy can be the predictive sort, so they predict something that's going to happen, full of it in the Bible, both Old and New, about prophets who predicted the future. Women prophets are all over there. There are women who God has anointed to preach His word, and we're not going to hold them back. Okay? So, if you have a desire, ladies, and you believe that God has put you in a place, okay, and you want to use your gift, we're not going to hold you back, okay? I can think of a couple of ladies that are sitting here right now with us, Fabiola being one of them, Rachel being another one. They have stood behind this pulpit before, shaking, trembling, with doubt in their mind, saying, do I belong here or I don't? In my house, they belong. Okay? So that's, if they're going to come, if they have a word from the Lord, it's not going to be just them preaching just to women alone. If they have a word from the Lord, if God says, Fabiola, will you take next Sunday for me? And she says yes, she's going to be here, and I have all the scriptures to back it up. Okay? That's to clarify in both of those issues, the hip-hop guy as well as women in the ministry. That's to clarify biblically what's going on. Just if you have questions, you want to talk to me about it, you can talk to me about it. You think you got that gifting, you think that you got it, you know what? I'm willing to, to take it further if we have to. We are in the book of 1 Kings this morning. We are in, and I don't know, hopefully were we recording all of those? Yes, he said, we're live. Okay. I want you to go with me, and this might tie in just a little bit. I want you to go with me to 1 Kings chapter 16, and we're going to start off right around verse 25. 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 25. Now, there has been, Chris is going to go crazy, about me walking around all over the place. I'll try to stay. Anyway, he's having to punch buttons to keep us in focus. There's been another thing that's been on the radar a lot, and this has been going on for about the last year or so. And we even addressed it a couple of months ago. How many of you have heard somebody talking, a preacher, a prophet, somebody out there talking about the spirit of Jezebel? Has anybody ever heard? Have you been hearing about the spirit of Jezebel? Okay, in fact, I talked a months ago about the spirit of Jezebel. And we talked about her. The funny thing that happened is that that time that I talked about the spirit of Jezebel, that evening we were at Rachel's house, and all of a sudden I got this pain in my left shoulder out of nowhere that I had to call my family together and some of my intercessors that live in Albuquerque and in Espanola to pray for me, because I had this pain in my shoulder that I couldn't figure out what it was. It felt like somebody had gotten a sharp instrument and poked it in through my back, right above the joint here. And I tell you what, I was in pain. And they're watching TV and in their rooms doing their stuff at Rachel's house because we had eaten lunch. And I'm walking back and forth in her big old kitchen, praying in tongues and just saying, I know this isn't just a regular thing. I know this is something. And God gave me some discernment about what it was, and then he even had 3 people that had verified it for me and confirmed it for me, because I had talked about the spirit of Jezebel, and attack came. So there's a lot of talk about the spirit of Jezebel, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about Ahab. So what we're going to look at today is we're going to look a little bit about Jezebel, but we're going to be looking at a couple of male figures who were there at the same time that Jezebel was. So if we're going to start off with verse 25, how many of you are with me on 1 Kings 16:25? Now we're recording this, both the audio and the video side of it. I believe this is important. I got about a half an hour if we stay on schedule to wrap this up. Let's see where we go. We might go a little bit over today. We might not. Verse 25 says, Omri did evil in the eyes of the Lord and did worse than all those who were before him. Who is Omri? Well, I don't expect you to know this, but Omri was a king of Israel. Okay? Here's the history lesson. The history lesson is, who was the first king of Israel? Saul. Saul is the first king of Israel. After him was, and after David was Solomon. And after Solomon, who was the king after Solomon? Huh? Actually, there was 2 kings. Because this is where the split in Israel came, and you had a northern kingdom and you had a southern kingdom. The southern kingdom was the son of Solomon named Rehoboam. The king in the north was Jeroboam. Okay? So they had disagreed with some of the things. Many of the people in Israel had disagreed with what Solomon was doing. And when he put his son in there, they said, we don't want Jeroboam to rule over us. Rehoboam came in the scene. There was a split, just like the Civil War tried to split the United States by north and south. Israel was split for from there on there were 2 kings. You track the 2 kings. And Omri was one of the kings, and I believe Omri was the 6th king of the northern part of Israel. Okay? That's just a little historical context there. Okay? Now, what do we know about Omri just there? Just in that verse alone. What do we know about Omri? Are we there? He did evil in the eyes of the Lord and did worse than all who were before him. So you look at Omri and you look at him and you say, was this a good king or was he a bad king? This is a bad king. You better believe it. Verse 27. We're going to go verse by verse, Hito. So you're going to be ready to go one verse at a time. Verse 26 says, verse 26 says, for he walked in the ways of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. So who's Jeroboam? Jeroboam was the first split king of Israel. They called the area Samaria sometimes because the capital city of the northern kingdom was not Jerusalem. They made their own capital city and they called it Samaria. So he walked in the ways of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and in his sin by which he had made Israel to sin, provoking Yahweh, the God of Israel, to anger with their idols. So they were bringing idolatry into the land, starting from Jeroboam all the way down to Omri. Now, it says the rest of the acts of Omri, which he did, and the might that he showed, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So what it's telling us there is that there's more history about Omri if you go to the book of Chronicles. You can, and if you need to know what the chapters are, I can help you find that out. And verse 28 says, so Omri rested with his fathers, meaning what? He died, he passed away. He rested with his fathers, was buried in Samaria. Then Ahab, his son, reigned in his place. Who is Ahab? He is the husband of Jezebel, and that's where we're going. First of all, we know him as the son of Omri. He is of the northern kingdom, and now who is king now that Omri is dead? Ahab. Okay? So let's find out a little bit about Ahab. In the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, so the king of the southern part was Asa, and his 38th year, Ahab, the son of Omri, became king over the northern kingdom. And Ahab, the son of Omri, reigned over Israel in Samaria for 22 years. Now, let me tell you something about Ahab as you get into more study that on your own time and you look at who was this Ahab. Probably as much is talked about Ahab in the New Testament as any of the kings besides Solomon and David and maybe Saul. Some of the kings you're going to find a paragraph. Some of them you're going to find a chapter. But very seldom are you going to get 5 or 6 or 7 chapters like in the life of Ahab just here in the First Kings. And that's not even including Chronicles, what it says about him. Okay? So we find out that he reigned over Israel in Samaria 22 years. Now, Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of Yahweh the Lord more than all who were before him. So this is his credentials. This is his resume. Ahab, we have Jeroboam, and we have 4 kings, and then we have Omri, and then after Omri we have Ahab. So from Jeroboam all the way down, there were some guys that did some pretty terrible things. Every once in a while we'd have a good king, whether it was the north or the southern kingdom. We'd have a pretty good king, maybe Josiah, maybe Hezekiah, maybe some of these other guys, but they were all interspersed, the good kings and the bad kings. Omri, good or bad? Hello, are you with me today? Okay. Evil, thank you. Ahab, good or bad? Bad. He did more, the Bible says, than all who were before him. So we got some pretty wicked guys before him, starting with Jeroboam, and maybe even including some of the things that David had done, some of the things, if you want to go all the way to Saul, because all those were kings before him. We shouldn't try to whitewash the life of Saul, the life of David, or the life of Solomon. And the Bible doesn't whitewash. The Bible, the one thing that it really captivated me when I was a young Christian was that the Bible told it the way it is. You study the life of Joseph, you found out the good, the bad, and the ugly. You find out Abraham. You look at Noah. You look at all these people, and it's going to just tell you who they were and what they did. Jacob, these guys were characters in their own way, man. They had their own things that were going on. And what happened is that the Bible just throws it out there. Now here we have all of these kings, and it says that Ahab was worse than all of the guys before him. 7, 8, 10 guys, whoever was before him. And it came to pass. What are they? That sounds like Linda Ronstadt's out there over there. Huh? Can you tell them to put it down a little bit, Eileen? Because I'm going to start dancing. She has a movie out, I guess. I don't know if anybody's seen it. And it came to pass, as though it had been a trivial thing for him to walk. This is talking about Ahab. In the sins of Jeroboam, the sons of Nebat, that he took as wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and he went and served Baal and worshipped him. So what does it tell us there in that 31st verse about Ahab? How terrible was he? He was terrible than all the guys before him. What distinguished him, I guess if you would use the word, what distinguished one of the things that Ahab did? Worship of false gods, Ben? He was doing, but the others were doing that before, okay? Jeroboam and all these guys, even Solomon had some stuff going on. Solomon would allowed some of this idolatry to come in. What was the one thing that Ahab did? Huh? Though it had been a trivial thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, he took as wife Jezebel. Okay. What happened? She wasn't a Hebrew. She was not Jewish. What he did is he went to the Sidonians. He went out there to where Assyria was, and he found himself a wife. Now, how many of you have you heard about Jezebel? How many of you know a little bit about Jezebel? Anybody here? Either your hands are cold and you're sitting on them, or you don't know anything about anything that I'm talking about today, including Kanye West, including women in ministry, and including Jezebel. How many of you know? She was a false prophet. In fact, even you go to the New Testament, the book of Revelation, and there was a woman that was like her. She had the spirit of Jezebel on her. And the thing of it is, and one of my points this morning, is we talk about the spirit of Jezebel all the time, but I don't hear a lot of guys talking about the spirit of Ahab. Let's look at Ahab a little bit, okay? And that's my purpose today, is to give you a little bit introduction to this king, because Jezebel, everybody says, oh, there's the spirit of Jezebel in America. Is the spirit of Jezebel in America? Yeah. But let me tell you what the spirit of Ahab is too. And the spirit of iniquity and the spirit of lawlessness and the spirit of idolatry and all these other spirits. And see, here's what you could, do you want one word that you can group all of this wickedness that's going on in your world today? Do you want one term, one title? Antichrist. What we are seeing, ladies and gentlemen, what we are seeing today is the spirit of Antichrist being unleashed like we haven't seen in our lifetime for sure. In my history, we haven't seen this happening for, I can't speak for the Roman period, the Greek period, but I can tell you what, by looking at just American, time of America, and even before that, the spirit of Antichrist has, in fact, you say, well, do you mean that the Antichrist is here? This is what 1 John said in chapter 2. He says, you have heard that Antichrist would come, but he says many Antichrists have come out into the world. So it's not just one person that you're looking for. Well, who's the Antichrist, Pastor? You're talking about the spirit of Antichrist. All of this iniquity, all of this lawlessness. See, lawlessness is a big deal. Ahab was a lawless man. Jezebel was a lawless woman. But you have to realize that this man, Ahab, opened the door for Jezebel to come in. Who was Ahab? He was the king. He was the man of authority. He was the door opener for the northern kingdom. What did he do? He could have opened up the door, exactly, Rachel. He could have opened the door to reform. And what Ahab did is he opened up the door to more terrible things than all the kings that had come before him. As a man, listen, men have a tremendous amount of authority in God's kingdom. You look at Jezebel and you go, well, I know that chick over there, she's a Jezebel. Oh yeah, that lady over there that calls herself a prophet, she's a Jezebel. They're talking like that all the time, brother. All these people are always trying. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there would not be a Jezebel if there was not an Ahab. It came to pass, as though it had been a trivial thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, that he took his wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal. Okay, we all know who Baal is, don't we? Baal is Lord. See, Baal means Lord. And what Baal, that spirit was trying to say is, I'm better than Yahweh God. I'm better than the God of the Hebrews. I am the chief God over all the gods. It's the spirit of Antichrist. The daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and he went and served. So what Ahab did is Ahab went to Sidon, where Ethbaal was king, and he learned all about the witchcraft and brought it into Israel. See, this is what it says. He went and served Baal and worshipped him. Okay? So, wow. That's pretty wicked. First of all, is he brings Jezebel. Was Jezebel a problem to Israel? Yes, you better believe it was a problem. Why was Jezebel a problem? This is what you need to know. She was seducing them, she was. But why was she a problem? What's that? Because she was a false prophet. But why? She brought in adultery, idolatry. Why? Why? Why did she control him? Because he let her. Hello? Because she could, because he let her. Ahab was the man of authority. Ahab was the one who was holding the keys. And what did Ahab do? Listen, Ahab did what many men are doing in the United States of America today. Ahab wimped out. Ahab gave the keys and gave the credit cards and gave and he said, I don't know, whatever she says. And if you study the life of Ahab and Jezebel, you're going to find out that this Ahab is always wimping out. How he met Jezebel, how he knew Ethbaal, I have no idea. But the Bible tells us that he did more wicked than all the other kings that were before him, because not only did he have some idolatry kind of going on in the secret places, because what they would do is they would have their idolatry in the high places. The high places were up in the mountains someplace, out in the trees, out in the forest, is they would have their little altars. And we went to one in Israel. It was the creepiest place of all the places we went to. And they had these altars that were to false gods up in the mountains, out in the secret, out away from the city. And what Ahab did is Ahab says, in your face, man. Watch the next verse. Mijito, can go to the next verse. Is he there? There you go. Then he set up an altar for Baal in the temple of Baal, which he had built in Samaria. Now, what is Samaria? I've already explained to you. What is Samaria?